Good evening and welcome back to EduWeave Online Education Expo. We are going live in the auditorium at the Expo with some of the most eminent educators in Bangalore. We are going to discuss a topic that has been discussed for quite a long time in the community as well as in various groups. My name is Manoj Telakart. I am the director of BSEI. Very happy to have all of you here. We are going to discuss a topic which is career opportunities in education beyond teaching, and that's what we are going to discuss with these four amazing educators, school administrators. And to start off that, let me invite our student volunteer, Anantita. Anantita, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just be introducing our moderator for today's panel discussion, Mr. Manoj Telakart. Manoj Telakart is the director of BSEI. He is the CEO of FlexEye Partners, a 14-year-old HR consulting firm with operations in India and the Middle East. Manoj is also part of the regional training team of BNI Bangalore. He is a passionate speaker and has been a public speaking coach for the last 20 years and is the founder of the School of Public Speaking. He helps children and adults become confident speakers through his online public speaking programs. Welcome, Mr. Manoj. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that discussion. Now, let me have the special privilege of introducing our panelists to the visitors here, and a very warm welcome to all of them. Let me start with Ms. Usha Iyer. Ms. Usha Iyer is a seasoned educator with over 37 years of experience in the field of education. She is a founder director of the Bangalore School, established in 2012 with the objective of providing high quality preschool education and contemporary facilities at an affordable cost. She has helped a lot of CBSE, ICSE and IGCSE schools as a consultant across the country to incorporate a healthy teaching and learning environment, and has been instrumental in bringing innovative practices in these schools. Welcome, Usha ma'am, to this panel. Thank you for being a big mentor and motivator for all of us in the group as well.
Thank you.
The next person is somebody who has been very close to us for a very long time and is also part of the Expo herself. Dr. Dakshayani Khanna is a founder of DK Education. Dr. Khanna is a director of Harvest International School, Bangalore. She is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and a gold medalist from Bangalore University. She also holds a PhD in biotechnology and a certificate in school management from the Harvard Business School. She has a certification from IB and Cambridge. She has over 32 years of experience in the field of education in India and abroad, of which last 25 years has been served as a director and principal of schools. Dr. Dakshayani Khanna, welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much.
Mrs. Shanti Menon is the principal of the Dean's Academy, a university rank holder from Stella Maris College, Chennai. Mrs. Shanti Menon holds a teaching and training diploma with distinction from Cambridge University, UK, and a master's degree in education. She was instrumental in setting up Gopalan International School in Bangalore before she co-founded the Dean's Academy. She's a trained performing artist, even as she dabbles in modeling, comparing shows, Carnatic music, and painting. Ma'am, welcome to this meeting. Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ms. Kavita Sinha is the principal of Candor International School. She has a CSML from Howard Business School, MA in Political Science, PGDM in Marketing and Finance. She has rendered her services in various institutions like the International School Bangalore, Indus International School, Greenwood High International School, and Nalapad Academy. Currently serving as the principal of Candor International School, we have Kavita Sinha. Ma'am, thank you so much for coming in and welcome to the panel. Ma'am, you're muted. I think we can all go unmute and then we'll go through the topics.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming in. Candor is also participating in the Expo. Definitely do visit them as well. So let me start with this. The first question, Usha ma'am, I start with you. Now, was it your childhood dream to be an educator, or did you just happen to become an educator?
I think it was passion which drove me to become an educator. In fact, I have been I got a job in the Pusa Institute in Delhi, and hotel management. And I think there was a calling for becoming a teacher. I left that. My dad had paid the fees there and he was abroad. And without telling anybody, my parents, I just joined this very same school where I was a teacher. And probably my principal was my role model. And I always wanted to become a teacher because I want to be like her. And I always relate her to Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi was another role model of mine. So there was a leadership already. I mean, leadership quality was already existing, but I didn't know how to climb the ladder. So probably I thought the first thing was to become a teacher. And the passion of teaching children, that is what it drove me. And I just at the age of 19, I became a teacher without any qualification, no B.Ed, nothing, just a graduate degree. And I did my post-graduation after becoming a teacher. And I did my B.Ed, everything after that, because that was important. But first thing was just to teach. And I think it was the calling. This is what I can say.
Okay. I learned driving after buying a car. This is the first time. Okay. Wonderful, Usha ma'am. Thank you for that. Let me move to Shanti ma'am on the same question. You've done everything. I mean, I've seen your profile and you're all over the place in terms of, in the right way, in terms of you're a dancer, you're a compere, you've done all of that. Why teaching, or how did teaching happen?
Well, very much like what Usha said. But, I had this passion for this red pen, even when I was a little child. That kind of power that the red pen had. I could, put long strokes into notebooks. So it started with that. I wanted to wield that red pen. But much later, and so again, just like Usha did, soon after my graduation, I remember I finished my final exam and I walked straight into Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan at Chennai, Rajaji Vidyashram, and attended an interview. I was barely 20, got the job, didn't have any degrees for it. And the only shocking thing was I was told that I can only wear saris. Back then, 30 plus years back, that was compulsory. So the charm for the red pen moved into realizing that this is what I want to do. I could do so much with children. So way back then, this was, possibly in 1987, 88, I started working with, trying out new experiments, getting children out of the classrooms. Most of my classrooms were under trees and in the sandpit and things like that. I never wanted to be inside the classroom. But I think the children today, when I see a lot of my students, calling up the school, just because they see my profile, they want to meet with me. They're all adults, children of their own. Of course, I am that old, of course. So that's how I got into the whole sector, because I realized that there was something that I wanted to do there. Much against, again, the wishes of my parents. I was all slated to be an architect.
Okay. And for the benefit of the visitors, all of them know Shanti Menon. But for those who don't know, I know where that background is coming from, because her dad is a metro man. Sridharan sir is where it came from. So I'm very sure that there was some pressure there, ma'am, in terms of following the footsteps. But lucky for the students that you did not, and you're here. So thank you for that. Let me move to Dakshayani ma'am for this. I've seen you, I've interacted with you so many times. And every time I come to you, I remember the first time I came and met you at Harvard School. The first thing was a passion that she carries towards not just the students, the educators. I think the educators have always come first for you and then through them the students. Ma'am, what made you an educator?
Thank you, Manoj. First thing is, the only thing that I saw in my life was teaching, because my grandfather was a headmaster, my father was a professor, my mother took up teaching job once my father passed away when he was 43. The only thing that I had seen is kids around, these people sitting with them, asking for doubts. There was no concept of tuitions then, but children who couldn't get what they wanted in school, they would be at our house. And I used to feel so irritated because they were given all the importance and not us, finding time for ourselves. So that's how it started. And then I think I was very, very excited about two things. One was research and the other one was teaching. And it so happened that I got my CSIR and then I went to Dehradun for Forest Research Institute, started my career there, got married to an army man. And when I went to Kashmir for the first time and was posted there, the kids around them, there were hundreds of them, no schools. That was the time when we had a lot of border issue. And all the kids would be around me and I started teaching them. And I did not even think of research after that. I said, this is my calling. and I'm making a difference, qualification, no qualification, doesn't matter. I'll have to get down to their level and then start teaching them. That's how I got into, teaching. After that, it has become a part of my life. And I think teaching has been very, very fulfilling. And I feel that it's a kind of, that makes you young. You're with the kids. And as Shanti ma'am said, basically when the kid calls you after he's 40 years for a decision, who did not listen to you when he was in your school, but then he's calling you to find out, is it the right thing that I'm doing, ma'am? You're the only person who can help me here. That's when you feel that, yes, you have received kind of, affection and getting back there, trusting us, the trust that you expect. I think we're all there for only that particular feeling. And I'm very lucky to be able to do a little bit in the field of it. Thank you.
I believe some of my teachers are listening to this conversation as well. I hope they are, because if they're listening, I did not sit in your classes, but I'm definitely reaching out to you whenever I need you. So thank you, Chani ma'am, for that. Kavita ma'am, your thoughts on this. How did you become an educator?
I would say by chance. I went to visit my school and it was celebrations around, and I just walked in and my history teacher told me, I have to retire and you have to help me. I said, ma'am, how can I help you? No, from tomorrow. It was that close. From tomorrow, you are joining. And I had a small baby in my arms. I said, I have to look after the baby. I will not take no for an answer. And this is how I was pushed in my same school. And I started teaching with my teachers. And that was a huge honor because, when those teachers have taught you and then you become a colleague. And that's how I moved into teaching. But days, passed by, and then my mom said, actually, you are living your dream. I said, how? She said, when you were young, you would drape a sari, come back from school, and on the walls, I could not write, but on the doors, I would write whatever my teacher would have taught. So maybe that was my calling. And even after my management, I feel I have not taken any incorrect decision. This is my calling. Wow. And today also, I feel this is what I can do the best, be a teacher.
Thank heavens for that event that happened that day, because we would have lost a teacher otherwise. Thank you, ma'am, for that. So one thing which is interesting in all this is that you all started very early, even before a professionally qualified, as we call them today, teacher. So I have seen people spending so many years in getting all those graduations. And one thing I've seen is that all of you are saying that was your calling, either by chance or by choice. It was always a calling. So let me ask Shanti ma'am this. If there is a teacher and is very passionate, but does not have any of those qualifications, do they still get hired?
In fact, when I started Dean's Academy, my first condition was I will not take trained teachers, because I find that they get themselves into boxes. They get themselves into a kind of standard thought process. So every single team member that I hired way back in 2006 was not from a teaching sector. We had dentists, we had management trainees, we had people from the IT sector, we had doctors. I had everybody who was not a doctor there, not a teacher there with me on my team. But we were all like-minded in the sense that we had a common goal, we had common thought processes, we had passion to work with. And I think that made them absolutely phenomenal teachers. And that's possibly why the growth chart of Dean's was so phenomenal, because it came with a similar mindset, So we were all there looking at the child at the center of everything that we do and nothing more. We didn't care two hoots about what anybody else thought about the school next, what kind of practices the school next door did, because we thought that what worked for our kids is what is going to work for us. And so I certainly don't believe that a training is the most, teacher training degrees are so critical when you get into the sector. I think passion is what is most important, and a sense of commitment. I will strive through for that student of mine. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay, so I'm very sure quite a lot of people who are interested to become teachers are also listening to this, and we have a lot of them in the group as well. And this question is typically for them, so that they understand what the stalwarts of education in Bangalore look for. Dakshayani ma'am, you're somebody who spends quite a lot of time in training these educators also. And I'm very sure you train both trained as well as untrained teachers. What are your thoughts on this? How important is that qualification when you hire somebody for your school also?
Manoj, to tell you very frankly, basically, I am going to agree with what Shanti ma'am said right now.
I think Dakshani ma'am also is having a technical issue suddenly. So let me just move to Usha ma'am and then come back to Dakshani ma'am when she comes back. Usha ma'am, you hired her, because I've heard the story from Sandhya a million times in terms of how you used to hire in your initial days of India International and all those places. So you have hired quite a lot of people, because when we go to quite a lot of schools, I can see your prodigies in all these places. So what are your things? What are the things that you look for when you hire someone?
Yeah, this is very important. Oh my God. I think there are two people.
I moved in. I moved out.
Move the person out. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you. So what my take on is, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah. So my take on is the creativity part. So whenever I used to hire teachers, I used to look at how creative they are in the classroom. I used to take the demo. I never bothered, because when I started India International way back in 2002, and many of them just walked in to put their children in. And I used to tell the parents, I said, do you want to, and if I see the potential in the mother, I said, why don't you take up the job as a teacher? That's how Alka Gupta joined me as a teacher. And today, in fact, she is heading as an NPS, principal. So that is a kind of thing which we can identify, probably God gifted, that we can identify the talent of the person. This person can do very well in the classroom. I remember way back, one lady was there, Deepa Desikan. She just walked in and she said, ma'am, I want to put my son in. I said, what is your qualification? First thing was that. So she said, I am a BSc and I can, handle chemistry. I said, will you like to give a demo? And I was so impressed the way she taught chemistry in the classroom. It was all activity based way back in 2002, I'm saying. I'm not talking about projectors. I'm not talking about this. It was very hands-on and very activity oriented. And that is actually, every child understood what is a DNA and what is the kind of protons, electrons and stuff like this, which I think is very important. Today also, I feel that it's a very traditional, very stereotyped in some schools. I think we need to identify teachers who can really be passionate about what they're trying to drive in the kids. And the output is very important. The children should understand the concepts. So that is most important, It's not important. The degree is absolutely, like I'm a trainer, basically. I also have a bigger school, the Green School Bangalore. In Green School Bangalore also, we don't hire teachers like this who are like just coming with a degree and saying, I've got so many years of experience. It doesn't matter, because you might have about 13 years experience and still you don't have that connect with the children. So it doesn't make any sense to me to hire that teacher. So they always kept in the, as a stopgap, this thing. The first important thing for me is, like, can they connect to the children? So that's been very important, Manoj.
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am, for that. Kavita, ma'am, you also been there. You've done that. You walked into an event and became a teacher, and you've been hiring teachers and you've been running big schools all these years. And I know some of your team also, how well you have mentored them. So I hear this question from quite a lot of people that I am in IT and I do these great projects and I'm completely bored of doing that. So I need to change my career. So let me become a teacher. And I'm very sure you hear it more often than I do. So what is it that you tell them, ma'am, if they approach you?
Even now, just I'm talking about even at Candor, I've hired, computer engineers who come to just like Usha. And I have just said, okay, why you want to leave computer engineering? No, ma'am, it's just not working for me. Can I teach? Why do you want to teach? When they say, I love children, I don't hire them. That's not my criteria. When they say, I love to pass on the knowledge, I'm saying you are up to it. Because for me, anybody who can come down to the level, differentiate, and actually give their time. Teachers are, sadly enough, in India, very mistaken. We should be the warriors. If you ask me, in COVID, we are also the real warriors. Teachers are the one who actually finds out the strength in the child. And that strength takes them to become a doctor, engineer, architect, whatever. So for me, it's not about B.Ed. Two of my, PE teachers are doing some course right now and they took some week. I said, why are you doing this exam? ma'am, are we not supposed to? I said, did I ask you? Because your increment is not based on the training you're doing. Your increment is based on how many students are you actually involving and how many of them are going to take the sport seriously. For me, this training business does not work as long as it doesn't actually bring change in the heart of a child. That is more important. I think, when I'm listening to Ms. Shanti and Ms. Dakshani ma'am, and of course, Usha, my neighbor, I would say that we are all talking on the same line and on the same page. And Usha and me have spent, I think, more than 15 years as neighbors teaching two different worlds, right, Usha?
Wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. Dakshani ma'am, you are answering and then technology hit us again. Yes.
Thank you, Manoj. So basically, I would definitely reflect whatever others have said. When you're looking at training, there are two aspects, actually, Manoj. And today's teachers have to completely teach differently. So when you get people who are not in the teaching line who come in, just like you, you're also a trainer and you are taking theater and other things for making sure that teachers get how they need to teach. The flavor that comes in will be a different kind. The attitude comes first, the skill comes later, and then comes the knowledge. And the concept of cognitive teaching that is there in B.Ed and everywhere else, teaching only the content, is no more there. So that kind of flavor, that kind of encouragement comes with diversity. So I definitely believe that bringing in different kinds of people brings in that kind of environment for teachers to experiment, because it's a whole lot of different things they have to teach, especially about socio-emotional well-being of the kids, and then taking care of themselves, their life skills, their values, their integrity. That comes with people who have worked in corporate. They know the discipline. Though we say schools are known for discipline, self-discipline comes only through corporates because they're accountable. Kids are not accountable. Teachers here, we need to change our attitude, and that's what happens when you have diversity.
Okay, so we have a question from the audience member in the auditorium, and he's somebody who has been affected. I'm not sure if it's a he or a she, but I think it's a he. Is somebody who has been affected by the fact that he doesn't carry a B.Ed and has been rejected in schools because of this. So he's asking, how do I understand about my approach and see how we can take this forward? So he's seeing how does he connect with one of you or all of you and see if he fits into this, or how is it that he can take? I can open this question to anyone who's interested in answering.
I will tell you the first thing, Manoj. There is a rule for any board that when you have teachers, there is a combination or there is a proportion that is given to you. 1:1.5 is what CBSE says. You need to have that many trained teachers. So per section, you need to have 1.5 trained teachers, which means for 2 sections, you'll have 3 trained teachers. But many of our schools will have more than 2 teachers teaching in the same class. So once that mandatory statutory thing is filled, all the teachers who come after that need not have a B.Ed. But if he really is passionate and if he wants to grow, do some research, get into schools and become a mainstream teacher, he can do a lot of certifications. Maybe Kavita ma'am and Shanti ma'am can put in some efforts. They have Cambridge and IB sessions and also certifications that they can do, which is also considered as teacher training. They can definitely do other things like, a computer teacher doesn't require a B.Ed. A computer teacher as such does not require a B.Ed at all.
This person says he's got, he uses nature and art and integrate that with academics. That's what he is doing.
He is the right person to actually send out his resume to any of the IB PYP schools, because that's where we do not have, trained B.Ed teachers required. We need people who are passionate with a particular content. His nature is his, so he can connect with the units of inquiry. So he should reach out to PYP schools and if possible, do an IB PYP workshop at the level 1.
Wonderful. So I think you got your answer right there, and I hope you will be getting into one of these schools very soon. Let me move on with the questions. Just when I heard this question, I'm interacting with 4 powerful women here, and when I walk around to schools and I see, we are the minority, the men out there. Why is that? Are you ladies not liking men teachers, or do they not come for interviews? Why are they so less in numbers? Shanti ma'am, do you want to take that question?
I certainly do, because I'm very keen to have male teachers in the school, because it brings about a kind of equilibrium in the whole setup. The whole fact that it's just women working tilts the scales for the students. They need a more holistic kind of approach, and the male aspect is. The perspective is very different when it comes from a male teacher. So we do have quite a few male teachers in our school. My senior physics teacher is a male teacher. My French teacher is male. So we have a Kannada teacher who's male. We've got quite a few teachers. But having said that, I think the one issue is, and in India, I think it's part of our whole cultural thing about the man being the breadwinner of the house. And so even today, the education sectors doesn't give you the best payback. So he cannot be the breadwinner by being in the teaching sector, unless you are in an international school and things like that. The second thing is the status that they, even today, just like Ms. Sinha talked about, the status that the teaching educators and the teaching sectors give as attributed is not the best. So if someone goes out and says, and especially a male member says that I'm teaching, he doesn't get the kind of respect that maybe just a technician in an IT company gets, while this person is far more skilled, far more impressing or influencing the future, building the country for us kind of thing. So I think it's all to do with the mental mind makeup. But today there are men, having said all of that, there are men who are veering towards. My political science teacher is male, and he fights staunchly for the fact that every time there are resumes that come in, he said, please pick up a male, so that our club gets larger. But I think it brings a lot of healthy vibes within the school when we have a good mixture of both. But we have to change our society has to change its outlook for the gentleman.
Manoj, I would like to add on a little thing here.
Dakshani, I want you to add, but I'm just adding one more question into that,
Okay.
so you can answer that also. While you talk about men in teaching, I've seen them in high school and probably those levels, or even in higher education, I've seen quite a lot of them. Why is it that it is missing in the primary years? That's where it's almost nil. I mean, if you go to a college, yes, there are so many male teachers. I don't think it is an issue with the profession as such. Maybe it is something else also. So if you look at a primary side, it is almost nil. Dakshani ma'am, what are your thoughts?
Okay, Manoj, I would like to add on to the first question that you asked. I had a student who was brilliant and always used to take classes for the peers, lower grades, etc. He cracked his IAS exam and wanted to become defense officer. And then, he joined administration. I asked him, your passion was in teaching. Why are you joining this? He told me, my parents told me that if I join teaching, nobody will give me a girl for the wedding. So nobody will be ready to marry. So that's the level, as Shanti rightly said. Probably Shanti ma'am meant that even financially, he won't be able to manage his house.
Okay.
And that's the sad truth. And that's the reason probably, this thing. Coming to the next one, there are a lot of societal beliefs which are there, like especially when it comes to the harassments that people talk about, the news that comes in newspapers and all these things. People forget that they are all fathers. And these are the people in society. You can't differentiate a small child and a male member. And exactly the same has to happen. One, there are no takers. Very less resumes comes from men for especially preschool and primary school. And the second thing is that there is a apprehension, saying that why get into issues? Many of these concepts which feel that they're not very sensitive, they may not be able to connect. And there is always a fear to leave a young child with a young male member. And all this, they play a very important role, not only in the minds of the principal and the staff, but also in the minds of parents. I have seen many parents coming and telling me that, ma'am, it's better you have lady teachers in primary because they'll be able to handle them. They won't shout on them. The concept of male members not being sensitive is so ingrained in our society that the society needs to change its outlook. There are lots of male teachers who are extremely good, but these are some of the reasons that I could say.
If I may just add, I had a colleague when I was in Gopalan International School with a young gentleman who was a pre-primary school teacher. He just didn't make it in life, kind of thing, because of the same issues that Dakshani is talking about. And it's societal pressure. He was good. He was very good in class and he was patient. It's not like he was not patient. But, the kind of pressure to constantly keep an eye on him, I don't know how much how much of space he had to work if all of us were constantly prying into his class.
I have something positive to add. Yes, I have something positive to add, that you'll find many PYP coordinators are right now the male coordinators, and I have hired my own student from Indus International who's now teaching grade 5. And when I interviewed him, I said, why you want to be a PYP teacher? His plan is great. He says, I want to be not only a teacher, I want to be a PYP workshop leader. And not only him, I have seen in the last 5 years a change, which all of us, I'm very happy to know, a lot of students, IB students, are coming back to teaching. I would say the percentage as of now is 0.5 or maybe 0.05. I really don't know, but people are coming back to teaching. First of all, the reason is they are connected with the philosophy of IB. And that's the reason they want to give back to the society. So this is something positive I'm noting. And I really make a conscious effort now that, I hire PYP teachers who are like a balance between male and female. And
Wonderful.
That's really good.
There is hope, guys. Don't worry. There is hope.
Yes, there is.
This is for the message for men out there. Usha ma'am, you've been an educator and administrator and one of the best that is there. One thing that I personally believe in is passion drives everything. But another thing that I very honestly believe in is that passion cannot feed. Passion alone cannot feed. And that's the point that we are all being talking about. Why is it that the pay scale? Because I've read about articles about other countries, Western countries, where many countries wherein teaching is the highest paid job, followed by health workers. Why is it so different here? Why is it that teacher cannot be the breadwinner of the family?
Teacher can be the breadwinner of the family. Depends upon the kind of the salary or the package which the teacher is getting. It's like that. Whether for me, it's not the men alone are the breadwinners. There are many females who are also the breadwinners of their families. So they are trying to balance it out and saying that whether they can cope up with it. But probably they will not take up the job in schools where the pay packets are less. They like to take up jobs in such schools where the pay packets are high, because the kind of expenditure which has to be meted out, whether, but mostly they get their education of the children, they get it free in many schools. So that is taken care of. But majority of the expenditure which is to be taken care by the women or by a man or a woman, that becomes quite tough if it comes to the pay packets being less. So I think basically, sorry to say, but many schools are not following the 7th pay commission and stuff like that. So they're private schools. So they're just paying whatever like the management can afford to pay. And that is where the problem is like that many men are not being hired. I've been hearing all these dynamic ladies out here talking about men being hired and stuff like this. It's very few men, because they also don't opt for such jobs. And even females, if they are single moms and they don't have a support system and stuff like this, you can't find them in jobs where the packages are less. So it's like this. But I feel it's a gender equity, and we're talking about UNESCO's 2030 education goals, because we are a sustainable school, green school. We believe in that, and we believe in having giving the equal opportunities for both men and women. And we are looking at coaches who are men who have joined us. And there are few, as Shanti ma'am was saying, we have few teachers in different sector who are teaching like computers and stuff like this, but the administration as well. But as Dakshani ma'am was saying, that many parents don't relate to the male teachers. So that is where the challenges are. Otherwise, I think that they can be the breadwinners, and probably the paying ability of all of us have to increase. and the petrol prices and diesel prices have gone up and stuff like that, which has gone up. I think the whole gamut of the whole thing, it falls on the onus and responsibility of not only one industry, that is one industry which is to really pick up in paying is the education industry. So I think we need to do that, and parents have to understand that if the fees increase, they should not mind it, because we are ultimately giving the money to the teachers, So it's like that.
Okay. So I mean, at least hopeful that the same change is seeing, because when you four are talking about it, I'm very sure that there is change happening in the industry also, which brings me to the next one, which is around, it is not about teaching, right? Education is not just about teaching. Education is a lot more, or a school environment is not about teachers alone. There is a lot of other things, and that is what we also wanted to discuss. So what are the other opportunities for people out there who are passionate about education, but are not really teacher material? Maybe if I can use that word. What are the other opportunities out there? Somebody is extremely passionate about being in a school environment. What are the other opportunities?
I think that they can be education consultant. So because I'm basically an education consultant, so being a teacher, being an educationist, you have so many plethora of opportunities which comes across. And Manoj, you are a trainer, and you are a great trainer and a public, the way you're speaking, you are training on. There are various career opportunities. I feel like you can be a counselor, and I can see wonderful people who are counseling. Many of my heads who have actually worked with me, and they're part of a core team. They are now counselors, they are career counselors. And there's one very big opportunity for the educationists is the corporate trainers, So, and they're therapists, also educational therapists. And there are many, many more opportunities. I feel that special educators, and the best part which you can be, there's something which is very nice word which I can say. It's called as a mentor. A mentor, a mentee is like, you feel like you're opening up to your challenges and failures. I don't know whether you heard about it, about saying life coaches, So people always relate to somebody, and nowadays there are courses which is mentors and coaches run. And they make huge money. It's not only that teaching is the only option left when you're becoming you have MA, MEd or MA, BEd, and what do? Have I to become principal or a teacher? No, there are many, many opportunities which is there. And I think that it all depends upon what you actually want to do. And I have seen many of them actually mentoring, and they're great mentors. So I think that life coach is something like it's new, which has started the courses. And one of my heads also is actually opting for being opting a life coach for herself. Okay. So these are the career opportunities.
Yeah. If you need to come into the school, Dakshani ma'am, if you need to come into the school, I was looking at opportunities inside a school.
Oh, inside the school. Okay. Special educators.
Manoj, there are lots of things that can be done now. After this COVID has come in and the pandemic, there are lots of opportunities. If people are good at making videos, if people are good at talking and giving voiceover, if people can actually, as Usha ma'am said, a little bit of counseling can be done. And if people can manage scheduling the classes, preparing the PPTs, you talk of multimedia, any area of multimedia can be a part of training that these people can do. There could be a curriculum department. Only the formatting part of it, teachers are fed up of formatting. I have the content for the PPT. I'll tell you, I can prepare the content in 2 hours, but to make that PPT presentable, I struggle for 1 hour. Till today, I cannot work on Canva. And people say that's the best PPT one can make. So if I have a group of people who can take care of all this support for the curriculum, content can come from somebody else. This team can sit and do all the required material, documentation of what the school is doing. We would have done 1,000 things. Shanti ma'am basically does a lot of things on art, and then, different kinds of events that happen in the school. All of us do that. But for that documentation, we don't require a teacher to do it. Somebody else can support the teacher for the documentation, because any board for that matter will keep on asking you, where is the evidence? Where is the evidence? And also the data analysis of the school.
Yeah, data analysis is a very important role in a school today.
Absolutely. Our decisions for teaching, learning, training teachers, it depends upon the data. We really don't use the data. We collect the data.
It's all there in form of report cards and appraisal forms and everything, but nobody knows how to use it further because nobody has the time.
Correct.
We schools definitely need data analysts in every sector, starting from student performance to, employee performance to teacher performance to everything. School growth rate and everything has to be done, planned by somebody. So data analyst is just, and today that's a huge career opportunity that's youngsters are walking towards, So they have a big place in the education sector too. And like one of the things that Usha was talking about is she's talking about mentoring. I would rather call it coaching. Every person, every professional needs a coach to help them work forward. And I guess in your career, Manoj, that must be something that you're doing very often. Schools need coaches. It was previously the principal was in charge of all of this. Today, there's so much happening in a school. The principal needs to be like Ma Durga, with 12 hands and, doing multitasking. You can't do it anymore. You need people who are professionals to do such things. A coach has to be an external, disengaged person from day-to-day, politics of the school to actually be able to coach a person. So there are so many such careers that, should happen within the school. And like she said, a strong IT person. The administrator is such a key person in the school. Again, this used to be the job of a principal, the administration. Today, administration doesn't need to be the principal's job alone. You can have an administrator. The administrator now, when you talk, especially today, with the COVID times, the safety norms that have to be followed, why is the principal involved in all of it? Your job is to run this, take care of the students' education. Let the administrator handle the, whole COVID angle of the school. So you need strong administrators for all of this. And like Dakshayani said, people who just manage data of the school in terms of multiple things that we have to do. We have, especially in CBSE schools, we have Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat activities happening. We have art integration happening. We have subject integration happening. Who's keeping an eye, who's monitoring, who's checking to see all of this is so critical. So it is centralized, it becomes so much easier. Similarly, when you talk of curriculum development, of course, a teacher knows what he or she has to do. But I say this from experience. Like I said, I have IITians, I have people from BITS, biotechnologists, etc., who are part of my faculty. They bring in a completely different perspective. Now, I have a team which is a curriculum development team. And these people don't really teach, but they sit in classes, they watch, they observe, they create. So you need curriculum developers who are creative. Back to the same point that Usha talked about long back. You need to bring in that kind of creativity. You ask and you can find a career inside the education sector, especially inside a school.
Wonderful. We also think of life skills, Manoj. We need a course for life skills. We need people who can teach our students value education. Okay, all these are coming in gender sensitivity, value education. Teachers are not needed for all these things. If I'm
What about finishing school? What about finishing school? Because children don't have the right etiquette to step out with.
True.
And so,
just to understand, ma'am, we are talking about life skill coaches, or are these all permanent roles that we are talking about? Or are we looking at consultant kind of stuff? Do schools have these as permanent roles? Because one of the things that when I saw an organogram of a school, I run a recruitment company. That's my business, and I do leadership hiring across. And what I've seen is when I saw the organogram, there is very niche. Cliche kind of roles. A transportation manager, an administration manager, an accounts manager. You're talking about positions which are not there in the program now. So are these roles which are already there in the system, or are these roles that the schools are evolving to become now?
No, the roles are very much there. I'll be talking from international school perspective. When it comes to curriculum development, it's basically something which is handed over through the international curriculum and we develop. But where we really need support in international school is a connect with the industry. That's where I feel a lot of job opportunities, a lot of opportunity is there, because each and every student needs pragmatic experience of what's happening in the industry. So there are a lot of people who have come up with this internship program, and they actually connect the 11th and 12th graders with these people outside. And that is something which schools are looking forward to. because in the real experience of the industry, and as you know, IB also has an IB career program. So what happens is when you have people from the industry coming and talking, now these are not permanent positions, but a company which actually brings you the experts to the school, it becomes easy. A principal has to just drop a mail to XYZ company, and that company has, you know, all the great trainers or all the great people from different industry. And if I need somebody as an environmentalist, I have to just give a call and they'll come. Now for me in primary years program, I need almost every month a speaker from the industry. And it's like quite challenging because we keep going back to our parents, try to find out who is there, who can come, share some time, thanks to the hybrid model that we can bring them online. If it is bringing to school, it is quite an ordeal. So such opportunities are very much available where people.
But I think we are moving slightly towards the entrepreneurial model wherein
Yes.
this can look at it. I was still looking at from a career perspective for an individual who wants to be in a school. So apart from these positions, which we normally talk about, I'm hearing some very, very niche, very interesting positions. So these positions, I believe, are coming up. So for example, marketing. I've interacted with some
Very
of the best.
much yes, very much. Marketing has become, you can tell you nowadays, the head marketing is a huge role in a school. And that marketing person should know the BTL, like ATL, all activities. So it's a very, very core, you can say, position. So marketing.
Even customer care. I add to that.
Customer care, public relation. Yes, Darshana, public relation officer, because parents need that kind of people.
Yeah. Correct. And second thing, Manoj, now that National Education Policy is voicing out that from grade 6 onwards till grade 12, they are supposed to do their internship. You need a placement officer. You'll have lots of these people. They have to review the company. Is it safe for the child to go there? And give options of these companies which are empaneled, exactly like an MBA college does. So that's another role that, numbers are going to be less. But definitely,
but that's an opportunity which never existed earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because what I've seen, ma'am, after interacting with so many schools over so many years, what I've seen is that, okay, the entry to the school is as a teacher.
Correct.
And then you become somebody else later on. You are good in talking, so you become a marketing person. You talk too much, so you become an administrator.
Things have changed. Now, like, you really look for a graphic designer in a school. You really look for a marketing person in school. These are now a must.
Wow.
You don't look into
that are opportunities. That are opportunities that you got. I have the same question on that.
You also look at you know, as you were saying about data analysts, a lot of ERPs are in function, but who looks after this? True. So we need those people in school, and those are opportunities.
You know, even something as simple as there was a time when principals had secretaries. Today, we don't have secretaries. We have an executive assistant. Now, that person is practically doing all of your work. So that person has to be quite proficient and intelligent to be able to understand every part of the school's running, because that's what you're doing. And they practically step into your shoes in times when you are outside and, you know, you're doing something else and this person handles all your jobs there. So there may be a vice principals, there may be headmistresses, but the principal's job is handled by an executive assistant. And they're very, very proficient people. And they're not from the teaching industry. They are from possibly a background which is quite different. So we are no longer looking for those kind of, we are looking for people who are skilled in their niche areas today.
You know, Manoj, I want to add to what Shanti is saying right now. Benchmarking your school, where do you want to go? You know, at that level, is the vision right? Has to be a correction. You know, one person who is into that kind of marketing, business development, who is benchmarking and then saying that, oh, this is where we require improvement in the school to reach this particular place. That is another area that will come up, because, you know, we are now in third-party assessment. We cannot say we are the best and somebody will come and rank us 1, 2, 3, 4. That is not going to happen anymore. It's going to be a third party set up by the, MHRD, other Ministry of Education. And these third parties will be coming to audit our schools. We do not have the luxury of saying we are doing the best. So for that, we need to be ready. Where is the auditor? Nobody knows how to audit. So we need somebody who will be auditing the school, giving you the feedback. Quality control will be done. We don't have anything there. That's an opening that can come in, which is completely quality control, audits, internal, external, and then benchmarking the school, taking the school to that level. That's another creative opportunity that is there for people who do this, because we never did that.
Just to understand from a larger perspective, we know now that we know that there are so many opportunities, and I'm one thing which I'm very, very sure you would definitely want to hire people who are different. I mean, typically a person who will crack into an Infosys or a Wipro may not be the person who will be able to crack into a Dean's or a Bangalore Schools or a Candor or a Harvest. What is it that one quality that anyone, it doesn't matter he's a marketing person or a sports teacher or an ERP specialist, what is that one quality that that person should have to crack into one of these schools? For
organization skills. That is very important.
Communication is very important.
Yes.
Communication. Excellent communication.
I'm talking about organization skills.
Yes, ma'am.
That is very, very important.
Okay. Dakshayani, ma'am?
Willingness to learn.
Correct. The willingness to learn is, I think, the most important thing, because there is no degree or any kind of training that can be done for you to be ready for a school's need. There never is. You have to become with whatever skills and learn to adapt and learn on the job. I think that's very important to the sector, because this is a very evolving sector, a very dynamic sector. It changes on a day-to-day basis. What was happening in 2019 is not what is happening in 2021, thanks to COVID. Everything has changed. So if they were not people who cannot adapt and learn and, on the job, they would just get obsolete. And that's, I think, a very critical, I would think that that's a trait that any sector requires. Adaptability and ability to learn afresh.
Okay, wonderful.
I think communication skills is a must. A very good communication skill, you need to connect. That's very important. Where any job, whether it's a teaching or non-teaching job or anything in the campus, that's very important. Okay. And you should be able to think out of the box. And the critical thinking skills, I mean to say life skills, decision making, everything cannot be like small nitty-gritties. You can't keep running to the, X, Y, Z people. You should know how to make your own decisions at your level. And that is actually missing in a majority of them whom we hire. Everything they need an instruction, and probably they just pretend that they need instructions. They can, but they don't want to.
Because when I look at it, because I deal with people on a daily basis, and this is something that is completely missed. I think IPR, interpersonal relationship, life skills, etc., are missing. And then I realized that, hey, these people all came from these schools itself, right? Are schools doing enough to equip these people to be hired back in the same school? Because some of you said that you got hired back in the same school that you learned. Kavita ma'am, what is your take in terms of that one critical skill that person would have to crack into your school, Candor? I mean, doesn't matter which job it is.
Ready to learn, unlearn and learn. That is something very important. When you are fixed in your background, you're like, okay, this is the way I can do, then I don't think the schools are the right place for you now. Because as Ms. Shanti said, that this is the time when things are changing every minute. So you should be able to adapt. And now parents are no more just the parents. They have the whole connectivity where they have this global connect, and the demands are on the global level. Sitting in Bangalore, they want to know what's happening in US and if they want the same kind of facility in Bangalore. So you should be able to have, a kind of quick thinking, that is, as Usha said, critical thinking, and able to make all adjustments. So I always look for a person who's ready to say 24/7, I'm committed to Candor. Okay. Because that's where...
And something very important, Kavita, that they should know how to manage their time.
Yes.
Be punctual. That is very important. And deadlines to deadlines to meet. That is not there. You need to keep reminding. And that's where the problem is. And that's why few people are always like, we really like, because they're meeting the deadlines. And still
the leader, how you lead. That also, see, it's a myth that people think teaching, initial days, teaching is such a cool job. You get only 220 days to work out of 365 days, and you are only there for 8 hours, 7 hours. I'm sorry, teaching is 24/7. Yeah. All 7 days, you have to think about what new you're going to do in the school. And then only you can say, okay, the school is moving ahead, the teachers will also. We keep saying about the salary and all, but let me tell you, it's all depends upon your commitment and your effort. We all started at a stage, I think Ms. Dakshayani, Ms. Usha and Ms. Shanti, all of us have started where I can say peanuts was our salary. But did that stop us from moving ahead? No, it didn't.
But one thing, yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Kavita. And I'll tell you one more thing, as all of us will agree with that, Manoj, that if you put a teacher into an administrative role, she can do a better job than whomever we're hiring, especially for administration. They can't, because teachers can take up the challenges and they are disaster management.
Yes,
you know,
I always
what you're saying,
teacher principle is a better principle. I always say, because we know what hurts the teacher, what pleases a parent, and what makes the student happy. So the decision making is very good.
So what you're saying is that once you become a teacher, all these life skills get automatically imbibed into you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
You know what, Manoj, what happens, we actually join as a teacher and we become excellent teachers. We are pulled from there because, as long as we are teachers, we are responsible only for ourselves. Once you establish there, you're pulled, you're made into a HOD or something else, where it is not only your contribution, you have to bother about others' contribution. At least that one you have been teaching, you know what to do, what not to do. Then you're pulled into administration, which we have no clue.
Yes.
Okay, you have to manage transport, you have to manage facility and everything, and no training is given to us. Absolutely. Yes. But then, as
we are all disaster management. We are great at that.
Actually, crisis
managers.
And we are able to manage only because we've been teachers. Nobody else can manage a school.
Because teachers give birth to all other managers.
Yes.
Okay. Now I have one last question. We are just almost about out of time, because at 7 o'clock we have this amazing awards evening that is being planned. One last question. So, you've all been mentors. You all spent decades in the field, the industry, and I'm very sure you've seen the good sides, the bad sides, the tough sides, all of it. What motivates you to get up and go to the school today morning? Shanti ma'am?
That child in the school and that smile, that there's a difference that you're making every day. And I even exclaim about it even day before when I was in school, that, with COVID and with, people working from home, etc. The minute you are in school, the whole the kind of, the atmosphere brings in a whole lot of impetus. And I think over the many, many years, 30 plus years, we've realized that there's nothing that you can change about your wanting to be in that sector. I don't think any kind of candy would lure me into any other kind of sector more than what this has done to us. And it doesn't matter what you earn or it's the smile on the children's faces, the gratitude and the gratification years later when they come back and they do something in their lives. You have built a base for that. And that's, I think, what makes you get up every morning with a big smile.
Okay. Dakshayani ma'am, the same question, because I know you've not been at the best of your health of late. And at the moment we spoke about this panel discussion and we spoke about this topic, she said, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm there for that panel discussion. But what keeps you going, Dakshayani ma'am?
Manoj, the same thing, when you're looking at, at some stage of your age and stage, you start feeling that you can contribute. Society has given you so much. You've got so much of experiences. You've seen kids growing from one to another, and we've been growing. Along with every child, we learn so much. So if there is an opportunity where you can make a difference for anybody for that matter, as Shanti said, a small kid looking at you and then smiling at you, saying that, why didn't you come yesterday? Yeah, we missed you. And the same teacher, I'm finding this particular thing very difficult, ma'am. Can you help me sorting this out? Or a parent who says, I don't know how to actually handle my teenage child. What do I do? Not that we are experts, but whatever little we know, if we can just spread it out and then share it with anybody who needs it, I think it gives you the best satisfaction possible.
So sharing is what keeps you
yes.
going, ma'am.
Yes.
Kavita ma'am, your thought. You actually shared this with me when we came to visit you in the school. So the question popped up from that. So your answer, ma'am.
For me, it's not about the parent primarily, it's about the student. If I can make a difference in the child's life, a little difference every day, that inspires me to go there. The second thing is, I always believe to pass it on to my teachers. I'm always looking for teacher leaders, trying to find out, okay, which teacher can actually take my vision, take the school's vision forward, bring them forward, give them a little more. And my teacher said, ma'am, this again, I have to do this. I have to do this also. And then they say, no, ma'am, I can't take this responsibility. And I say, yes, you can. And when they start doing that and they feel that, okay, they have taken the responsibility, I relax back and say, okay, one more mentor is made. Because I feel if we are able to create mentors, they can impact 100 students. One teacher at least impacts 75 to 100 students. So if we are in my journey, I am moving forward to make as many teachers with the same values, ethics, and passion that they can impact the students under them. They may be with me at Candor, they may be in other schools, but they should give a positive impact to the students. Let me tell you, teachers are the one who can bring that difference in the mind and heart of the child. That look, it's not about career, it's about giving back to the community. That's one thing which makes me go early morning every day, pack my bag as if I'm going back to school. And I'm always excited. 7 o'clock is like, my biggest smile is on my face that I'm back to school.
Wonderful, ma'am. I can see the smile today also.
Yes.
Usha, ma'am, you've been a mentor to mentors. And why I say that is because you mentored my partner also. And every time we have a discussion on education, schooling, teachers, etc., your name definitely comes up. And at some point of time, I need to tell Sandhya that, yeah, I've heard it multiple times. Let's discuss. Okay. So you've been somebody who has done that. So what is it that keeps you going on?
For me, yes, the children are very important, major role for me. See, I have been very sick for last 1.5 years, on and off. But when I go back to school and I see that they are cheering me up and they are there working very hard, putting in heart and soul, I feel that I must go for them and they put the smile on my face. And second is my other stakeholders, my parents. They walk in and walk out of my school. There is no kind of demarcation between teachers and parents, whether it was the previous school where I was working or whether I'm working here. We've been partnering with in every way. So parents, me staff, the sub staff also say, madam, aap kal nahi aaye the, and they come and they really pray for you. They go to the temple and they say that theek ho jaoge, right? And security guard who comes and smiles at you when you come back to school after a long time. You feel very wanted. You feel, oh my God, I mean, why was I sitting in the house for so long? Let me go back to the school. So that is very important. And especially with the preschoolers, yes, they all come and hug you and they come and give you a chocolate wrapper. They give you this and they give you that. And you feel very young when you're there with the preschool kids. So these are things which actually keeps us young and keeps us going. And age is just a matter in the mind. We don't bother about it. We just slog it out because we know that, yes, they are there for us. And especially now that I have slowed down in my, the way we were working, that now slowed down. I feel, as Kavita is telling, that we are trying to train the next generation to become the leaders. And I feel that they have the potential. And the more we go there and become a handhold them and become the trainers and mentors and stuff like that, I think that will give them the kind of an edge. Looking at us, mixing with them, there's no need kind of we are the trainers and they are the teachers. Need not be like that. Just mixing with them, sharing ideas, putting it across. And for us, it's always been like a party every day with teachers, laughing and and laughter is the best medicine, as you know, Manoj. So I love to be with them.
I had an absolute party today, spending time with all of you. I've been coaching children. That was never my specialty area. I was always into adult learning, but since the COVID, I've been working very closely with children, and I realized that I've suddenly become much younger. So I can imagine that you spending so much of time with these children, you are perpetual, permanent teenagers. That's what I feel, because I think working with children makes you younger. So thank you so much, teenagers, for being part of this discussion. 4 of you, it was absolutely lovely discussing this topic with you, and I'm very sure we added a lot of value to the people who are listening this, who are looking at education as an industry and not just teaching as a career. Teaching as a career will exist, and that's one career I personally believe will never change in this world. Doesn't matter what changes, what jobs go out, teaching as a career will always remain. Thank you so much for being part of this panel, accepting our invite and giving us some insight on this. Thank you, Usha ma'am, Shanti ma'am.
Thank you, BSCI, and thank you, Manoj and Sandhya. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much,
Manoj.
Manoj.
Sandhya, and I have
And
to
thank
say,
you, other co-panelists. They're
Manoj?
wonderful, the way they were putting it across.
Manoj
Shanti and
Sandhya,
Ravi
what you're
and
doing at Bangalore School, I have to say,
Kavita.
you're really bringing a lot of perspectives in the right way to the parents. So thank you so much. And it was great meeting my co-panels. And you know, Ms. Dakshani, I've been hearing about you, but never had a chance to meet you. Of course, Usha, we keep meeting. And Shanti Menon, we did share a panel again in BSI. So I think we should be meeting sometime. Do come over to Candor School.
Ma'am, don't still think about it, because we are organizing something very soon. So just hold on to that. We will officially introduce you to Dakshani ma'am very soon. So just hold on to that idea there. But thank you so much. And we will log off now. We have the event starting sharp at 7 o'clock. So we will take a break in the auditorium. Thank you so much to our student panelists, student volunteers also, who have been supporting us, Anantita, Kirtana, Aditya, who have been part of the backend team here. And to all my panelists, thank you so much. And we will see you at 7 o'clock.
Congratulations, back in team.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night.